Hello everybody, welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. Let me tell you about today's episode. I have a layout process video for you as part of the design team over at the Counterfeit Kit challenge, and our challenge this time around is to put a heart on it, and I'm going to go big with that challenge. And I'm going to use that heart to hold my title and journaling. I'm going to create some interactive photo tags, and we're going to play with some washi tape. So let's dive in. I have a bunch of small photos that I printed out from a get-together with some scrapbooking friends, which I don't do very often, so I love having that time, and using a heart to represent that event was a good idea. So as I'm starting this layout, I did pull out some other heart papers, but I already kind of had this idea in mind that I would use a giant heart, because when the challenge is to put a heart on it, I'm going to put a heart on it. I do have this sheet of simple story paper that is big, and it's in my counterfeit kit this month. But I decided it didn't quite have the colors that I was looking for, and I really liked this black floral, and I really wanted to get that to use out of my kit this time around. So I did use that heart paper to kind of decide how big my heart should be, hoping that I've got it planned out well enough. So I prepped my paper and put it on my Cricut mat, and I'm going to send it through the Cricut machine, hopefully getting that heart off center so I have more room for my photos, and that it'll be the right size. So sometimes just going for it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. This time it actually worked out. I do decide that I want a frame on this after I get it cut out. I'm going to back it with that piece of paper back there that's a very subtle kind of peach floral print on white. And if I had trimmed this paper down before I had cut the heart, it would have been a little bit easier, but I didn't have that thought until I set it down on my paper and decided that a frame would be great. So I trim off the branding strip from that piece of paper, and I am ready to pop this piece up on my background. But last time I used a ton of foam tape. I felt guilty about using so much foam, and I realized I have about 10 million leftover letter stickers from my supply of thickers that I used on another project that these can be good use in place of all that foam. So I set about just filling up the back of this with those pieces. I will have to glue them down eventually, but I'm not gluing it yet because I have some things that I need to do to that upper piece before I put it in place. So I turn to making my tags next, and I pull out my nested tag set from scrapbook.com. This tag set is getting a lot of use. I love it. So I'm trying to find which size I think will be best. And I realized that if I use this size, I can get 3 of them out of a small strip of that blue paper so that I don't use up too much of that blue, and I'll have it left for other pieces. And the strip left over I can use as its own embellishment of some sort. So I'm going to save that in my kit for later. And these tags are fitting okay on here. And then I realized that one of my photos is actually bigger than the other ones, and it's hanging off the end of the tag. So in order to get that same look from the other tags, I'm going to trim them down just a little bit, and that will make them fit better on my layout. So that all worked out very nicely. I mark where I'm going to keep these tags on my layout because I'm going to punch holes through that upper layer, which is why I didn't glue it down yet. And that's going to allow me to give an attachment to these tags that will still allow it to be interactive, because I will be putting photos on the front and on the back of these tags. I have 6 of these photos from with my friends at the gathering, so I'm kind of grouping them together. Fronts being, I think I've got the groups of us on the fronts, and then each individual friend will go on the back. So that is how I'm getting my photos set up there. And once I've got all those glued in place, I am going to move on to getting these holes punched out, perhaps. There we go. I made sure everything was looking good in place, grabbed my hole punch. I did mark through the tag holes with a pencil, and believe it or not, it does show up on that black paper, so I can see where my holes are and go ahead and give them a punch. I went to my stash and pulled out some fibers. I didn't have any fibers in my counterfeit kit this month because I'm focusing a lot on washi tape, which we'll play with next. So I'm going to tie these tags to this upper layer, and I'm going to tie them loosely so that they will still flip. Now you will have to take this out of a page protector to get it to flip, but I'm okay with that. So once all of my 3 tags are in place, I skipped tying the other 2 because you get the idea. I am going to put glue on my my quote unquote foam squares to get them to adhere in place. And at this point, I realized I probably did not need to glue every single one. Just doing a few here and there would have been okay. But you don't think about these things until later. So I glued all of that, and I'm going to give it just a moment to set because the liquid glue does take just a minute. And while that is setting up, I am going to move on to a couple of other things. I pull out some washi tape from my kit, some embellishments, which I won't end up using much of, and then my alphabet set. I'm going to spell out a really simple title following the curve of my heart, and it's just going to say love this because that was definitely the feeling I had being able to go and see these people in person. And it was a little bit of a drive for me, but it was worth it. I'm trying to get just the right curve to my title, just being a little bit picky about that. No particular reason, I just liked it better when it fit more around the curvy part. So because I have so much washi tape in my stash, I put a bunch of washi tape in my kit and I want to make sure I get it to use. So tucking just a tad of washi tape here and there under elements will help highlight those elements just a little bit and also add some fun pop. Now I am using this blue washi tape for a ruffled washi technique, and if you haven't seen it, I do have a whole washi tape video which has been really popular, and many of you may be here because you found me through that video. And I really do use those techniques on some of my layouts occasionally. So here I am using that washi tape ruffle technique, and it turned out nicely, and I'm happy that I got to using some of my washi tape, which I haven't done in a while. So getting that trimmed and tucked so it looks tidy. I am putting the photo of myself up in that corner, and that's why that photo is just a little bit different and separated out. And with this layout, I'm getting my kind of visual triangle going on with that photo of me, the grouping of my friends' photos, and then the title grouping. So that is my visual triangle there around this giant heart. I pulled out some of my little sentiment strip stickers from my kit, and I'm finding some stickers that go along well. They're just little stickers that say friend or lovely and things like that. So just tiny little sentiments to go on each photo to just kind of finish it up. And with that in place, I'm ready to look towards more embellishing. I do have these wood button embellishments there, which I love these wood buttons. And I did debate whether or not I should use these because my layers are already popped up. Adding wood on top of that is going to make it even chunkier. But you know what? I love these things, so I'm going to put them on there. They do come mounted on foam, so I am going to remove that foam later to at least narrow down their bulk just a little bit. But I will tuck these, one in each of my 3 points on my visual triangle there, and that's where I pull off the foam to get them adhered down. So just a little liquid glue at this point will get them to hold in place. And as I'm moving some of them around trying to decide where they should go, I realize I have some of that blue washi tape up in my upper corner, so I will tuck some of that around my title to kind of help that washi tape feel cohesive across the layout. And I probably should have put pardon my phone. I probably should have put a little bit of that blue washi tape down with the other cluster too, but I didn't really. It was getting pretty full down there already, so I was making do with what I've got. And then I am just putting a little bit of what am I doing? Oh, I'm adding some more of the heart washi tape up to my title area to pull that around to other parts of the cluster. Or other clusters on the visual triangle. So I did get that heart washi tape on all 3 clusters. And that's when I realized that my letter stickers aren't sticking very well, which we all know that happens with those letter stickers anyway, especially when they're old. But they held well enough for me to get the base of this layout done, and I could just add a little bit of glue to the corners to keep everything in place at that point. And then I thought about where I should put my journaling, and the inside of this heart was a perfect place to just flow that journaling around. It'll add a very subtle element to the layout, and it'll get all the words on there that I need to say without taking up too much extra space. So here is a little bit of a closer look at that completed layout, and we'll take some ganders at the still photos as I show you the close-ups of these little techniques. And I love this layout. I am so pleased with how it came out. Not everything I do makes me so happy, but this one really did. I hope you find it a nice layout too, and that you get some inspiration out of it. All right, that is it for today. I will be back on Monday with my regular schedule, which at this point I can't remember quite what I've got going on Monday, but I hope you join me for whatever it is. Until then, have an artful day.